pretty much do anything you want. You can actually sell houses with NFTs. You can do mortgages with NFTs. You can sell cars with NFTs. Anything that can be done by a contract can be done by an NFT, and anything that can be traded and bought and sold.
Hello everyone, my name is Lily and we are here today with a few fellow Manchester-based artists with Vibe and Radium, and we're pretty excited to be here today, and we're going to be talking about NFTs and the art world in general. So for those of you that aren't aware what NFTs are, which stands for non-fungible token, they are digital tokens that provide proof of ownership for digital and physical items. So that could be art, music, tickets, all those kind of things. So yeah, we're going to start by introducing ourselves and yeah, talk about a little bit how we found our way into the NFT space. So I'll start. My name's Lily Moore and I'm currently based in Manchester. I'm originally from Buckinghamshire and I studied a degree in textile design at Nottingham Trent University. My art is quite traditional based. I do illustrations, ceramics, make garments, that kind of thing, and soon rugs. And yeah, so I moved to Manchester a few months ago where I met Joe, and he owns the Smolensky gallery. And then during my time working with Joe, him and his business partner Jimmy teamed up with Known Origin, and they're giving artists the opportunity and helping them assist their way into the NFT space so they can gain access to the benefits of the NFT world. So yeah, this is where Radium NFT was born. And yeah, it's a pretty cool space, so give us a follow on Instagram and Twitter at radium.nft. So yeah, I'll hand it over to these guys to introduce themselves and talk about how they found their way into the NFT space.
We'll start. I'll go first. I feel like after, yeah. Okay, my name's Darryl Marsh. I run an animation degree course in Staffordshire, and obviously that means I've always been involved. I was a commercial animator beforehand. So I live in Manchester. I've always been obviously into creative art, and over the years it's become increasingly digital. As far as NFTs are concerned, I started this 2 years ago, because I've been looking it up. Time flies, feels like about 10 years. But 2 years ago, just after I met Rosie Summers, who's a very famous virtual reality artist, through her I got to meet a guy online who's called Metageist, real name Lee Mason, and he was into NFTs, and he, as the phrase goes, kicked me down the rabbit hole, said, listen to this podcast, oh, this is really interesting. And now I started meeting him up online, meeting him with a few other artists as well, and we kind of started looking into NFTs. And since then, I'm now sort of doing art under the name of Voltage, and I've got a group of friends who are either involved in NFTs and the whole NFT thing and blockchains and doing art that way, but also a lot of virtual reality artists who aren't interested in NFTs, but they're interested in digital creativity. And like between those two groups, there's a lot of crossovers because it's all become about community work and developing community ideas and stuff like that. So the community has been absolutely fantastic. And this is something that, you know, hand on heart, I can say I never saw coming in my life. I didn't actually think the area for kind of personal creative work would actually take off. My own personal development has gone through leaps and bounds over the last 2 years. I'm in a completely different place now to where I was before creatively, and that is down to NFTs basically. Yeah. Your turn.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me here. My name is Nima. I am a digital artist, but my background is actually a bit weird. I was studying aerospace engineering. I was supposed to be an aerospace engineer, and then sort of halfway through the degree, I found my passion for art. I started making art out of nowhere, and then I was just doing it every day. Got to a point where I was like, I should probably pursue this if I'm doing it every day. So I did, finished my aerospace degree early, started doing art, came to Manchester in the art school doing graphic design, and then, yeah, I did a part-time master's course at ManMet, graphic design. During those 2 years, I sort of found my artistic style. I was just making anything and everything. And everything digital though. I never really worked with traditional methods, but yeah, digital collage was my main method. And yeah, I've heard of NFTs. So basically, I started posting my work on Instagram, and then sort of started to form a community on Instagram, you know, from 2017. So that's when I started making art, and I sort of made a community on there, made some friends, and you know, I was just doing my thing, posting random artworks that I was making, and then last year, so 2021, around March time or February time, I saw some of my artist friends that I was following there start doing NFTs and start selling their artworks as NFTs. And I was just thinking, like, if they can do it, I can probably do it, because some of their artworks weren't really like that far away from mine skill-wise. So I was like, if they can do it, I can probably do it. And because that's how they're making money, I was like, they're making money from NFTs. So I sort of just dove in head first into NFTs last March, and I also took it as a chance to start animating my works. So yeah, I started animating my collages and started minting my works as NFTs. I made loads of mistakes. I did stuff that I shouldn't have done, but I was just learning. And yeah, over this past year, I've learned tons. And yeah, so so I make digital collage animations now, which is my main thing. One of them is here, not animated, of course, but I make prints for my collectors. And yeah, I'm on a bunch of platforms. I do different types of NFTs, like artwork and utility ones now. And I run workshops for people trying to get into NFTs. And yeah, I just try and do whatever I can. So that's my story.
So it's funny you said you like aerospace engineering, because that's what I was meant to go into.
No way.
First, I was meant to go into it, and then I took a year break out, and then I decided afterwards. I was like, awesome. Halfway through, went screaming into me, Dad. I was like, I'm not doing this. I can't do this. So I went to do a foundation course at my Met at that point, because I took the gear out and I basically started doing my own designs. Before that, I was just doing like portraits, just like drawing things that I could see, which isn't, you know, to go into do your own art, it's different, innit? Because if you're just doing pictures of pictures, it's easy, but then to try and actually find a creative outlet. So I did that, and then for a bit I was a bit lost. I was just working around, you know, working in bars for a while, and then so I decided to start a foundation course at my Met. I'm currently doing an illustration course there. And I've just kind of over the time since I started doing that, I've found my footing in kind of digital work, just because it's easier to, you know, you can mess up a lot more. Like I'm not classically trained, I'm not traditionally trained. I only started really getting any education when I was in like university, which wasn't really called education. I was kind of just there, and I was given the time then to kind of learn everything I was doing by myself. And then through that, I kind of like, I started to gain probably a bit of confidence in what I was doing. And then in the last year or so, we went to, because all my stuff's digital based, got quite a lot of mates who saw this NFT started to rise, stuff started to rise, and they kept going to me, going, "You need to get into this, Callum." I'm like, yeah. And then I tried looking into it, and it was just nearly off the back of lockdown, so I didn't have a lot of money at the time as well, so I couldn't really get invested into it too much, with also not knowing much about it. So I think, what was it, like late last year, I think went to the Known Origins, meet-up. And it's basically so I could get, meet a couple of people in the space and figure it all out. I remember I left early, but my mate Ted stayed, and he started speaking to Joe, who owns the Smolensky and Radium. And I think that there was a little idea at the time about what we do, about what Radium was going to be and that. But I think through that, we kind of garnered a little, like a conversation through that. And then from it, I've just, I'm really new to the space. I've only just dropped my first one today. Yeah. But like we've slowly just kind of garnered that, we're going to hopefully play it quite decently. But that's how I've found myself into the space so far, just through really Joe at the moment, really. So, yeah.
Congrats on the first NFT
Thank
drop.
you very much, man. You'll see how it goes. I see how it sells first. It's out there, you know what I mean?
By the way, this is the NFT that you dropped.
Yeah, no, it's quite old, this one as well.
Check
So keep that in mind. Like that's not, but there's more to come, definitely.
Yeah, no, wicked. Yeah, so yeah, Callum, Nima and Daryl all here with us today.
I didn't notice that. Yeah. I didn't want to say anything before, but he went it all over the place. I had a little smile to myself, but he was too invested in his monologue. So.
Yeah. So like all things, people have a lot of opinions about NFTs. I'm interested to know what your guys' opinions are on NFTs, like from an artist perspective.
I think Daryl knows more than anybody. When I hear you speaking about it, you clearly know a lot more than me, that's for sure.
Maybe at the moment that will change. But yeah, you'll catch up quick.
I'm kind of trying to be the layman in this whole...
But there's a lot of stuff I don't know. I mean, I've heard Joe say things as well that I didn't even know as well. But yeah, there's a lot to find out about it. But I find them as working as a digital artist, it's been very liberating and inspirational. It's given digital art a level of respect that it never had before. And people talk about different issues of NFTs, about how the technology may or may not change and why some people love it, some people disagree with it. But whatever happens with NFTs, it's created this revolution with digital art, which is never going to go back. Can't take it away from people like us now. It's still going to have this respect and this kind of level of interest that it never actually had before. So that's what it really means to me. It's created a new future for digital artists who really deserve it. I don't know if I do, but there's a lot of people out there who do deserve it, and some people will be put off of digital art. It's interesting. I mean, there's so many different aspects to it, but a lot of people kind of diss it because say, oh, this stuff looks very it looks like game stuff.
Yeah.
And that's kind of evidence of the fact that a lot of people who are collecting stuff and are creating art have less of a classical artistic background, and they're not like, oh yes, I'm used to Mondrian and Van Gogh, whatever. Whereas they know what they like, and they think, yeah, I'd have that on my wall. I'd love to have a digital screen with these things scrolling past. Yeah. And so maybe they do like stuff that's more gamey because that's what they kind of looked at creatively as they were kind of growing up. And you'll see these influences kind of changing the art, and you have people talking about crypto art being an art movement. Whether it is or not is a whole separate debate for another day. But you see a different type of art. Or you did, because I've been in this for 2 years, and the weird thing with crypto art, and I promise I'll shut up in a minute, the weird thing in crypto art is it's like someone's got their finger on the fast forward button and they're not taking their finger off it. Yeah. And you literally, when you start getting in this, it's like, I've got to be on Twitter all the time, you're scrolling, it's like, I can't have a day off Twitter because I'm going to miss something really, really important every single day. And then you see people going through the same kind of evolutions. They step back and go, actually no, if I miss a day, it's fine because there'll be more stuff tomorrow, And it got this kind of accelerated, but it has mean the whole area has accelerated in a mostly positive way, not always positively, but again, the kind of development that could take years in the normal art industry has happened a hell of a lot quicker, and very often it's been beneficial. So someone else say something. But yeah.
I mean, I also have to limit myself to what I say because I can talk forever on.
We can all talk forever. Just go with the flow, man.
We can gush on this.
NFTs.
Kind of the whole point of the situation we're in right now is to talk.
Yeah.
So
It's true.
Cool. So let me start. Yeah, I mean, NFTs have. I think of them as a sort of, maybe they're not an artistic revolution, maybe they are, maybe they're not, but they're definitely a technological revolution from just a pure technology point of view. And I think a reason why a lot of people don't really, well, they don't actually see what NFTs are for, and they don't actually understand it. Well, the reason they don't understand it, a lot of people just haven't done the research, and there is a bit of a learning curve, unfortunately, and you just have to spend multiple hours.
Yeah, do you think, because on the surface of that, the problem is when you look at it, there's so much going on. That's the problem with a lot of it, because you go like, if you just on a scanning look, if you go on like any of like NFT page, you don't, it's, how do you keep up with any of it, you know, like.
And you won't get the right sort of opinion about it if you just browse what the popular media is saying.
People keep getting presented with the same aspect of NFTs.
Which is like collectible random images.
Yeah, that's it. And in 5 years' time,
it's not like a traditional art way. It's just
in a few years' time, they'll be buying tickets for their next concert they go to, and they go, "Oh,
most
that's
things
an NFT."
will be NFTs.
Exactly.
Most people don't see that right now. But yeah, I think probably like a lot of the audience, depending on what type of audience we have right now, but a lot of them, when you think of NFTs, you might just think of like the Bored Ape avatars that people have, the profile pictures, which is really expensive and maybe reserved for the rich. But even with those projects, like I remember when the Bored Apes dropped, and they were like sort of $100 to buy at the time, and I could have bought it, I just didn't. But yeah, even that, it wasn't reserved for the rich. Now it is, but it didn't start out that way. But anyway, I think it's a creative. I would say it's a creative revolution, and it's a technological revolution, because actually what NFTs do is they're just a token, non-fungible token. The T is like the most important part, token. And it's a token that you can use for anything. And that's another thing most people don't really realize. You can use a token as a ticket, you can use a token to allow entry to a place. You can use a token to verify and sort of authenticate a piece of art, to say this is the only original piece of this digital art that exists.
And you can copyright it and date it that way.
Yeah.
It's like it's a timestamp.
Exactly. You can give copyright away with an NFT. You can not give copyright away. You can pretty much do anything you want. You can actually sell houses with NFTs. You can do mortgages with NFTs. You can sell cars with NFTs. Anything that can be done by a contract can be done by an NFT. And anything that can be traded and bought and sold can be done by an NFT. So I recommend people look into those aspects of it, like what utilities that can be attached to NFTs, because at the end of the day, they are just tokens that they will do whatever you sort of set them to do. The first wave of what they've been used for is art and collectibles, but that's not going to be the only thing they're used for. They're going to be used for music. They're going to be used for sort of anything. But yeah, for creative people, it is a revolution, because now anyone can sell their work anywhere around the world using the same sort of online ecosystem. They can get paid for it, and including digital works, such as photography, digital art, animation, movies, music, anything, in a way that hasn't been possible before.
Well, because it's like, because it's like a digital world, isn't it? So it's like, all it is just a transaction through that medium. That's all it is, you know. And like,
It actually doesn't have to be just digital either.
no, of course you can use it. You can use like that as like as a funding for that, basically. But like, I think, you know, for me, when you're speaking about if it's creative uprising or whatever, like, you know, when you're speaking about the Bored Ape stuff, like, I'll mention this as well. It's like when you go to certain galleries and it's just a bloody white canvas on the wall with like a couple of specs. You go, that's not $2 million, but somebody did. So there's obviously the general aspects of the art world where there's investment, and, you know, we don't know where the investment comes from, but where it's going into these type of things, and it could be doing that. Who cares? Because there's other baseline stuff. So for me, for somebody who's done digital art for a while, I was just kind of doing it for the laugh, really. But I just enjoyed that medium. I was doing it loads. And now there's this option in this, you know, I don't have to go wait to be hired by somebody, you know, judging by what way it all goes. But I know I can call my own shots in terms of I can do a piece. I don't need to have somebody tell me what I need to do. I can just do it. And then like, so this one I'm selling now, I've had that for like a year and a half or more, but it's been lying around, but it wasn't going to, you know, wasn't going to make any value. It wasn't going to put it up anywhere. You know, because you know, in the digital space though, somebody will like that probably, and then somebody will buy it. And then in the artist community, what works in that sense is people who are making quite extraordinary things, doing great stuff, but never get seen, or don't even get or they get seen but don't have the funding, you know, because they don't have the money to go like continue that dream. They've got to work, it's some, you know, in a 9-to-5 job instead of doing this. But now it gives them the opportunity, just at least the opportunity to try to get some funding so they can just do that instead. I think that's the main positive. It now offers an outlet in terms of what wasn't there beforehand for people who worked in digital spaces. And I think in terms of the type of art you're seeing, man, like, you know, there's like you're seeing there's stuff you won't go into a gallery and see. You can go on any NFT marketplace or whatever, whether it be Known Origin, Super Rare, OpenSea. You'll see all sorts. You know, there might be loads of it that's probably garbage to the general person. But, you know, but then like there's loads of other stuff on there that is really remarkable, and, you know, there's people out there waiting to be seen, waiting to be found, and I think it gives access to that, really. That's what I think.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think like that's one of the biggest things about the NFT space, is that it's offering something for art in general that they haven't yet got there in the physical world, because like you see it with music and stuff, like with the royalties. Like, we haven't yet been able to make money from our work, like past beyond the point of just us selling it ourselves.
Yeah, well, although it's having somebody else sell it for you.
Yeah, and they take the big cut of your, exactly. Yeah, and it's still not, ideal. But yeah, so I think that's one thing that NFTs is definitely changing for the art world, is that artists are now being able to sell their work, and then they're getting a percentage every time that their work gets sold on by someone else.
It's not just making straight up profit of what you've done, and then just selling your item.
You're always going to see, you know, the benefits of
the secondary sales thing is unique, is amazing. It's massive, it's very important.
Something that didn't exist in the traditional world. Like if you sell a painting, now the person who has the painting
can make 40 mil off that, you know, and it's your work. It's just somebody sold it at a different time than you, or a different place.
You don't even know where the painting is anymore. Like after 4 years, someone's taken it somewhere. They sell it for more. You don't even see it at all. With NFTs, that changes.
Yeah, and like even like in the art world, like everybody knows that a lot of people say, like, when people that artists, a lot of them don't make money until they're died, or like, you know, the whole starving artists and that kind of thing. Like,
I'd like to get to that point before that happens. You know what I mean? Like,
exactly. Like it's massive for artists to be able to make be able to make their money beyond the point of just their first sale.
You know, because also what it comes down to in that point is, you know, with a lot of artists, if it's client work that you're doing, you're waiting for bloody God knows how long. You know, you could be waiting 3 months and nothing turn up, and then obviously then it's you know, depending on the complexity of what you're asked to do, it could take a month for the work to get done, and you know all that. Yeah. With this, you know, you could have stuff like, you know, just lying about, oh no, that should go on then, but people like that, and if you know, and I think that's the bit it gives away. Like you can still do your client work, but in between then you don't have to struggle. You know, if you're doing well at it, because obviously, you know, it's still the art world. It's still competitive.
It's still competitive.
Yeah, so you can't sit there and go, oh yeah, here's a photo of my dog. Like, you know, that's
but
not
it's another option. At least.
Yeah, no,
it's another option to have. You can do both.
Yeah, no, and I think it works in that. It works in that. It has an outlet at least for people. It's pretty good, you know. Yeah.
So yeah, on the topic of artist royalties, like how have you guys seen any benefits from them? Have you had any flaws like in them so far? Like.
What, from like secondary sales? I mean,
yeah, like just how have you been, like, yeah, have you?
Hasn't affected me yet. I haven't had any secondary sales, at least I don't think. But I know people who have. I know one or two people who've been like runaway successes, and they've made substantial gains from secondary sales because their main work has actually gone so high that, yeah, they have actually made real money out of it. Like, well, it's been really rewarding for them, quite surprising to actually watch. And it does, and you see people you see these kind of stories, success stories all the time where people are saying, yeah, I mean, I've seen people in countries where they've really struggled, where money has actually been hard to come by. It's like, yeah, I've got my kids through school with this, and so I'm able to get food now where I struggled to do that before. So you got people all over the world. Again, it's quite a kind of leveling thing. I mean, there's still going to be gatekeepers. It's not complete level field, and some people are doing better than others, blah blah blah. But I've seen plenty of successors who are literally in situations where they're really genuinely struggling in the way most people are in this country. Hopefully, won't have to get to struggle, and it's actually completely turned their lives around. Saying, if it wasn't for NFTs, I wouldn't be able to do this. And some of that comes from secondary sales as well. Secondary sales, it really does make a big difference, because if someone is, say someone created Bored Apes and then they're actually going for, I don't know what they go for now, several thousand
90
pounds.
ETH, I think.
90,
250,000.
yeah, 250,000 pounds. So suddenly when you're getting your 20% of that is worth something. Yeah, that is really good. Yeah, but it's not bulletproof at the moment unless they've fixed it. It doesn't work if you say mint it on known origin and then it's sold again like by somebody on Rarible or something. Then I don't think you get your 20%. It's not uniform yet. You do. Thank you. There you go. Thank you for saying that. I know they're trying to get that in. Yeah. Good. That's good news. Thanks for correcting me there. It was a problem for a while. Apparently now it's not. That's really good. That was something really. And in fact, it was so important that there was one point early on where Super Rare actually said they were going to reduce the amount. I think it was from like 10% down to 2 or something like that. And every single artist said, "Are we going to stand for this?" No, we're not going to stand for this. And everyone actually basically stood up to them, and they completely did a total turnaround and ridiculously said, "Sorry, I didn't realise it means so much to you." Yeah, well, of course it does. And actually put it back up again. So that was quite quick, and it was really good they responded that way. But yeah, it is super important.
Interesting when you put it that way, because that's another thing when you look at at least one of the positives of that whole space is internet reactions to anything nowadays is, you do something goes wrong, but it's not like if you had a gallery that done the same thing, like a physical gallery, right? But then you could one artist at a time comes in, I don't like this. But like here, it's like, it's on a thread, it's on a board, and then everybody's like, and then like you said, it gets reverted so quickly because it's answered to
That's the thing with NFTs, because it is kind of strangely, but also kind of logically, but it is kind of highly reliant on Twitter. And people just say, but what sites is it all going through? It's like, Twitter? No, really, what is this relying on? Where do people go and talk, and where do they find out? Twitter. And it's literally, there's a bit of Instagram, but really, Twitter's huge. And Twitter moves fast, and when people complain about something, that news gets around quick, 'cause it can be quite gossipy, it's not always positive. So there's quite a quick reaction time to major things like that happening. So yeah, surprisingly, Twitter has become a major force in my life.
It works as positives as much as it's other negatives and that, but of course,
And I don't know. I mean, again, I said to you the other online, so would NFTs have happened without mobile phones? I'm not like an observations.
Would it happen with technology? That's the problem. That is part of technology. Everything that's come up with it, that's part of the
without
society.
Twitter, it probably wouldn't have been exactly the same either. I don't know. All these things, it's like right place, right time. But it's interesting. I didn't know how that line started, but yeah.
What about you guys?
I also haven't had secondary sales yet to receive royalties. Just to give a quick explanation for anyone in the audience who might not know how royalties work, by the way. Royalties, basically the way NFT royalties and what they are in general is that, so when you put your work up for sale as an NFT, That goes on what's called the primary market, and it gets sold to whoever buys it. And then that's been sold. So then now a collector has it. Now, if that collector relists that work for sale again, now that's on the secondary market. And from there on, it'll be on a secondary market, just going on forever as it gets being resold. What royalties are in NFTs, because everything is tracked through the blockchain, and everyone, like the creator's wallet address is always in the contract of that NFT and the artwork that they've sold. So forever, no matter how many times it gets resold, it will always be tracked back down to the same creator. And what royalties are is that every time it gets resold on the secondary market, over and over again, 10, 15% or 5%, depending on platform and depending on what you put, goes back, of that new sale value, goes back to the original artist forever. So that's something that has never existed in the physical world, in the traditional art world. One example of it that I used in my workshop that blew people's mind, this artist called Xcopy. Some people may or may not have heard of him. He's a London-based artist actually, but he's anonymous, so no one knows his true identity. He was very early on into NFTs. He got into 2017, 2018, I think, which I guess, oh no, you were a bit later. Okay. But yeah, he was very early, and back in those days, he was on Super Rare, which now is one of the most prestigious NFT platforms, but at the time, it was just an NFT platform. And in 2017, 2018, no one really cared about NFTs. No one knew what they were. Back then, he started putting his works as NFTs, and there was not much audience for it, but he sold one work for something around $80 at the time, however much that was in Ethereum. And now, over the past 4 years, he's gotten extremely big. He's one of the world's biggest NFT artists right now, and his work's gotten very iconic. That same artwork that he first sold it on the primary market for around $80. That same work around a few months ago got sold for 3.9 million. So now 10% of that, so 390,000 went to him, even though he sold it for $80 first. So in the traditional art world, he would have just got
He would just had $80, yeah. No.
And then the next collector would have been a millionaire. But now, the next collector is a millionaire, and he got 390,000. So
instead of one night out, he's got a year's worth. He's done all right there,
so
doesn't it? Yeah.
But yeah, that's where you see the benefits of royalties in the NFT world, and
some artworks,
can happen to anyone.
Some artworks kind of get gathered up in the whole trading thing because they do. There is a theory that a lot of people who are collectors are people who made a load of money on Bitcoin, so they had all this cryptocurrency, and because they had this kind of lifestyle or kind of mentality of trading things really quickly, get it, sell it, make a profit, then some artwork can get into that. Some artwork gets treated that way and it's picked up and it's sold for a profit and it increases in value and this way the artist will actually get the benefit.
How do you think, because you'll know the space better than me, because obviously there is, sorry to move it on there, it's when you're going about the trading aspects of a lot of stuff, because that's what, because a lot of, we're saying about what's scary to most people as artists as well is, for me, what getting into it was the other side that you see with you got all these Bored Ape type of stuff, it's these AI written type of deals. Yeah, the collectible items. Yeah. But why do you think that works so well in the space? Because there's a lot, you can't ignore it, because there's a lot of people, not just in general, who are in that space.
It's taken over, but I'm hoping it's kind of falling back a bit.
And it's actually giving more attention to everything else in the end, or because I think that's, because that's what cheapened it for me a bit, when you look at it, because that art should be, like any item, relative to everything that surrounds it. So if you're sat here and you've got because I've seen some work that's out there and you go, wow, that should be worth what they're selling this ape with a hat on, you know what I mean? This one took, you could tell took months. Yeah, exactly. And this one is just somebody drew one thing, let an AI write on there, and then because of Celebrity Boy, and so when you say it's that's falling back, do you generally see it like that, or?
I think so. Well, the market's become really saturated with that type of artwork, and a lot of, I say more traditional artwork, crypto art hasn't been going for long, but a lot of standard crypto art has kind of dropped back a bit, getting less interest. It's still being generated, but it's not getting in the news as much. It might not be trading. I mean, I know a few artists who've kind of stopped or slowed down because they're just not selling anything. And now, I've been talking to a few people and say, yep, it's going quiet. I haven't done anything for a while. I'm still doing art, and I do really well in developing, but I'm not actually selling anything. Whereas you see something where they make 10,000 copies of a spaceman, one of them's got laser eyes, the other one's got halo, blah, blah, blah. And it's a selling technique, and but it's working, and people know it. That's what I get, which is kind of odd. It's okay, it's 10,000 of them. Some of them are rarer than others. It's Pokemon cards, really. Some of these.
Yeah, it's kind of the premise. So it's something that has worked for years and years beforehand, isn't it? It's just now a digital version.
Yeah. And it's random. Are you going to get that one or not? And it's even weirder than digital than Pokemon cards, because somewhere that card might exist, could be anywhere in the world. How are you going to find it? Whereas everything on the blockchain is on the blockchain. So again, it's a perception of value, and I think a lot of people do really like that. And it's like, I've got something really valuable. Yes, you have. Do you want to buy it? Yes, you have, because we agree it's valuable. And that's what this is all about. And a lot of people say, oh, well, this is rubbish because it's not worth anything. And I always say to people, take some cash out of your pocket, hold it up in the air and tell me how much it's worth, because it's a piece of paper, and written on the piece of paper is we, the Bank of England, blah, 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 agree to pay the value of whatever. So, literally. So it's just an extension of that. Everything we do is perceived value.
I find everything quite abrasive now because it's just a movement of society. And it's a big movement. No, that's the problem. I think that's why people it becomes quite an abrasive topic, because you're asking people to move from something they normally do. I think some of the topics, conversations surrounding NFTs my personal view, I don't know where things will be in 5 years. I'm happy to be proven wrong, but they go we'll all be wearing VR goggles and all this type of stuff, and everybody walking around naked or whatever. Which I would not be wearing my goggles at that point, I tell you. No, but I think that's where it gets a bit daunting in that sense, because I think people are rightly looking to the future of the space. I get that, but I think for the layman who's just kind of coming in, you're going this is what we're all seeing. Everybody's going to live in VR goggles. I think a bridging conversation needs to happen first for a lot of people about not going all the way over here. Yeah. But kind of let people kind of settle in the seat. Before we have a touch phone, it was I want buttons. Where are they?
Yeah, that's true.
Actually, I hated the touch phone when they came out. It's no, I want the buttons. Well, give me the buttons. Yeah,
would you go back for them anymore? Trying to get to the letter D on your phone.
Because it didn't work. And so things like AR will come and take more. We'll have the goggles or whatever the hell it's going to be, and there will be a certain there'll be a degree of separation between people who do and don't, and then there'll be people who most people will be in and out of VR and they'll see stuff in augmented reality, put their goggles on to see the picture, their NFTs which are on the wall all the time, but only when they have the goggles on.
It's not like you need to buy a new house to get a new TV. You just pop this in.
Exactly. So it would just become integrated with absolutely everything else, and it become more normal. We have a mobile phone. It's really a personal computer. We carry it with us all the time. We don't think twice about it. No. Whereas when personal computers came out, it's like, oh no, it's never going to be. People aren't going to have one of those at home. That's never going to take off. We've been through that. That's been and gone. Now
and then everything got messed up after Tom Hanks made You Got Mail. That's when flew up right there afterwards. Got him to thank for it.
But we don't know what the hell's coming. We can sit here and gas about it.
I think that's what's quite exciting.
But it is exciting, and that's part of the fun of it as well, because again, in this space moves so quick as well. 2 years ago I started coming into this, I certainly didn't see all the collectibles thing happening. And I kind of get that, because I'm a bit of a nerd as well. And I can see people like that. I don't like the fact it's overshadowing non-collectible artwork. That's a bit of a shame. A lot of artists are kind of losing out to it, but I believe they will come back, and a lot of the kind of trashy collectibles will die off.
It's made its move at the beginning as well, but that's probably best to see it do that to begin with, and then kind of as the space gets bigger, people have their own niches as well. If it's, because obviously I think that when it rides on at that point, people utilising it for one intrinsic reason, which is profit. They go, this, and it's kind of built on these dodgy foundations. That bit is alone. Yeah. It's look at this, and it's got, as long as everybody else is hyped up about it, then it can sell for this. And
I tell you, one of the most interesting things happens, and I haven't heard this mentioned for a while, I think it was about a year ago, was something called Avastars, which might have been set up by Pranksy, but I'm not sure. He's got big and naughty. And that's where they literally, if had the old game of Heads and Tails, where you have a picture made out like 3 strips, it'd be like the top of the head, like the nose, and then the bottom. And they got artists, they got loads of independent crypto artists to do like 3 strips or different versions. I think that also had like rares and uncommons. And I know like the guy at Hasmus, who an artist I know, he did that and said, oh yeah, so and so's got the eyes of my character and the mouth that a lot of money made and stuff like that. And that was interesting because it was a community-driven thing, and it was all these different artists, and it was so random you didn't know whose artist work you're actually going to get. Again, so that was a bit more interesting for me as these things go, because a lot of this stuff, it's like one artist has created all these different things and said, I'm deciding laser eyes are super rare, this is not rare, and normal goggles are fine. So that's just like the work of one artist, which can be interesting. I like the Bored Apes. I like the look of them. I really like the style. I think the face is beautiful. The concept they put behind it and the whole kind of club thing is I really actually quite like that one. I just wish it wasn't overshadowing everything else.
So that's what I think.
I think that's the thing.
And what came after afterwards because it basically loads of people go, yeah, I'm going to do that. So loads of crap came out afterwards. The actual Bored Ape was actually quite cool. And again, it was the first time someone had done that, so it was interesting. It was nice to actually see it happen. You know.
That's probably why it pushes itself out there. So, because if you, like you're saying, it was the first one to the post as well. Because how many crops up after though? You know, because I think the interesting ones when you see. Like a story with some girl in America was like 14, 13, her brother knew how to code, and then she did loads of beluga whales or whatever.
Yeah,
so made $1 million and then sent it straight to like a beluga whales charity or something like that, which, you know, I thought was pretty stupid. Keep it yourself. Like.
People raise money for
I admire that.
There was a project.
The whale's not gonna. How's it gonna spend that? Like, you know what I mean?
It would be tempting to keep a cut, but give the rest of the whales. But I know exactly what you mean. Yeah, but that's really commendable. That is really good. But it's not the last time we're going to see. I was going to say some kid, that's hugely derogatory and that's not what I mean. But it's not the last time we're going to see someone just pop up out of nowhere and just make a ton of money that way as well.
Yeah. No, but there was I don't know if you saw the Ukraine relief project, but
yeah, that is really cool.
A bunch of artists got together. They raised £1 million or dollars worth of Ethereum in 30 seconds using an NFT project for Ukraine. And they just gave it to the Ukraine crypto official donation. In 30 seconds, that's how much they raised.
Jesus, man.
I think the one thing I was going to say in your conversation is that I think one thing people need to realize is that there's going to be many, many ecosystems within the NFT world. Yeah. And we sort of need to get used to that there's going to be NFT sort of like, think of them like ecosystem or islands or niches for all sorts of stuff. And actually, you don't have to, it's not going to be just one. Even though for now it might seem like one's bigger than the rest, and it is. Like the collectibles is probably bigger than the rest right now.
Yeah.
But NFTs are going to be used for everything. So there's going to be a niche for NFTs as tickets. There's going to be a niche for NFTs as collectibles, which is like the same sort of people that collected Pokemon cards and all of that, sports cards. There's going to be a niche for NFT for art, NFT for music. And actually anyone who has a bit of money at all can get involved in whichever niche they want. And there's people with money in every niche. There's people with money in music, there's people with money in collectibles, there's people with money in gambling, there's people with money in sports. There's people with money everywhere. You don't have to worry about all the people with money are over there. No, there's people with money here too. Like if you just provide the right opportunities, those areas will grow as well.
It doesn't have to be a lot of money as well. Like we're talking about the Tezos chain where people are selling stuff for much less money, and there's a lot of collectors and a lot of artists become collectors because they can afford to do it for once as well. Yeah. So again, there's it's working at different levels, and it's. People just get to see the same stuff all the time in the media, but there's so many different levels going on, and it is developing hugely.
I think on those platforms though, because I think when you go onto the marketplaces, it just kind of gets. Well, I think certain ones, I think OpenSea, namely, is you go on there, it's just a sea, including the bloody title, for lack of the pun there. But like it's. I feel like when I prefer myself as a guy going, okay, what's 3D, what's made in Blender, what was made in Photoshop, what was drawn. Like if you had. There doesn't seem like there's any categories at the moment for that type of stuff, and I think if that's provided, so I want to find a drawing piece. I want to see if somebody actually technically drew this. Obviously, you have tags, but you know
the tags on some platforms
they do work. Yeah, but like on some of them, because I just want to go specifically, to find a place where this is drawn like this, so, this style, like I think that could then target audiences themselves.
But you can also create your own platform.
Could do that, but not with my technical abilities to tell you that right now.
You can make a platform for illustrators, NFT platform for illustrators, NFT platform for 3D artists only, NFT platform for photographers only.
My computer almost burned up this morning because I was trying to play a game of mini clips.
I'm not saying you develop it yourself on your computer. I'm saying it can be done.
Yeah, no. Yeah,
so, I think with NFTs and with my job in particular, I'm learning it out on the job, so I'm learning a lot.
So what do you do, by the way? Like
I work for Radium.
Yeah, but in what context?
So I kind of help with the creative side of it. I do a little bit of marketing, that kind of thing. That's kind of my role in it.
Yeah, she's a great designer.
Yeah. She does great work as well. Let that be known to everybody. Yeah, that's kind of side projects.
I haven't yet got into the NFT space. I kind of want to get my head fully around it before I do that. And I think there was one thing that I just really couldn't ignore was kind of like the environmental impacts. And it has, like, we're currently in a climate crisis. And those are kind of things that we can't really
not at the moment. Yeah, definitely can't ignore that.
Yeah, I think the big thing is that NFTs are contributing to a big...
A lot of emissions,
Yeah, a lot
and
of
it's,
emissions.
you know, it kind of adds that bad taste to your mouth, like, like licking a battery or something
it's
when
great
you're doing
for
it.
artists, it's massive for the art world, but it just comes at a hefty cost. And I think that is just something that we kind of need to think about, and we need to quickly kind of think about how we can solve that and how we can avoid that issue, because
I think that, you know, generally that could, you know, if you wanted to enact changing that in the same way, like, you know, all that stuff used to be about super rare before, was it? You know, with how much it just takes, if everybody wanted to, it could happen, obviously, but whilst the sun is shining, most people won't go, oh, let's stop this for 2 weeks so we can figure this out, which you're going to struggle there.
Problem with, because the main problem really at the moment, I suppose, is the fact that the main blockchain is Ethereum. And a lot of the control of Ethereum is in the hands of the bit miners. And obviously if we go from, without getting into details, and I don't even understand it all, but if we go from proof of work to proof of stake, they're going to make substantially less money. And because they have kind of voting shares in all this system, again, I don't totally know how it works, I know they are obviously not hugely responding well to the idea of making less money, but it is inevitable. It is actually going to happen, and there are other opportunities coming around. There are other.
But there's certain platforms now who've actually quite like I've seen who've actually like find themselves on the fact that they are more environmentally friendly than others. Whether they're speaking the truth at all or not, that leads to be questioned, because you could just write, yeah, no, we're green, it's fine, and then just paint everything green afterwards.
But it does seem like people are, I mean, you know this as well, people are actually working on it because it needs to be worked on. And you're also in the environment, like you say, where this is, NFT art is relying on artists, and artists are quite environmentally concerned. Generally speaking, artists on the whole are quite caring. You know, so we are very aware.
For a new modern technology as well, which we pride ourselves in, you know, it kind of would have to fall into the structures what we should find fit. You know what I mean? If it's going completely against everything that we all want, you know, which is not for the planet to drown in, you know, 30 years, whatever the bloody else will happen, you know, then it should follow with the ethos that everybody else carries using it. You know.
So I can speak a bit on this if I can. Because environmental aspect is one thing that I talk about in the workshops as well, and it's something that I've done some research into, and it is more complicated than most people think. It's not as black and white as just NFTs are bad for the environment, which is what most people think they are. So you touched on it a bit, but just to give like a quick sort of description, there's two main types of blockchains: proof of work, what's called, and proof of stake is the other one. Ethereum, which is the main blockchain that's used for NFTs, is proof of work. There's many other blockchains that are on proof of stake, such as Tezos, Solana, Cardano, and Avalanche, many more. NFTs exist on both of these types of blockchains and both of these networks, proof of stake and proof of work. Proof of work blockchains, such as Ethereum, they use more energy to compute and to just work than proof of stake blockchains. Proof of stake blockchains, the energy usage is actually not an issue at all. So those platforms that say they're green, such as the Tezos platforms, and like Solana platforms, they are green, because the proof of stake ones, they don't use that much energy at all. So actually, if you want to get started with NFTs and environmental thing is a big thing for you, just get started on a proof of stake platform, such as Tezos, Solana, Avalanche. Environment isn't a purpose for them. Like isn't an issue.
Because like there's less data per transaction.
Yeah, the way they work is really different.
It's an issue because they're deliberately trying to make it
right.
not a bad thing.
Yeah. I mean, like it's not it's not one of their sort of downfalls. And and I think it's not just to do with proof of stake. It's also like how scalable the blockchain is. Not to go too technical, but anyway, like proof of stake platforms, which is a lot of NFTs are on, they're actually not bad for the environment, and they use very little energy. And that's why when you actually use them to submit works, that's mint works or create works on there, you have to pay very little amount in costs, because the cost is so low to mint something, to create something. Proof of work blockchains such as Ethereum, it takes more energy. And so that's where the main concern is. So just first know that there's these two distinctions. It's not just NFTs as one thing. But even within Ethereum, there's a bunch of stuff that it's not as clear cut as just NFTs are bad for the environment. One thing is, there's this article I would recommend people to read. It's called No Crypto Artists Aren't Harming the Planet. It's by Super Rare Labs, actually. In it, they explain that how the Ethereum blockchain, the way it works and the way it functions, actually you submitting an NFT, you creating an NFT, doesn't actually change any of the energy usage of the system. It's
still going to stay consistent regardless. Like
the analogy they used is like, let's say if an airplane, I don't know if that's the analogy they use, if that's the analogy I just used, but it's like if an airplane just has to go from London to Paris every day, and it goes regardless of whether there's anyone on
Like
the
5
airplane
passengers
or
or
not.
100, yeah.
So, and it goes because it has to go, and it goes back and forth every day. The Ethereum blockchain basically works like that. It's on, and it uses the same amount of energy. Whether you use it or not actually doesn't make a difference. So that's one thing. And again, read the article and critique the article if you want. That's where I'm getting that data from. The other thing is the Ethereum blockchain and proof of work blockchains are being turned into proof of stake blockchains. So as you said, there may be some incentives to not do that for people. But proof of work blockchains are trying their hardest to go as fast as possible to proof of stake blockchains. They're trying to get more efficient. And these things are going to get more and more efficient. And one last thing I say before I just shut up.
It's fine.
This is like a big topic, but one last thing to say is, let's say, imagine if you were in the 1950s right now. And I don't know if anyone's seen the picture of the first computers ever, and they're like the size of a room.
They don't fit in the picture, that's the problem. It's just there's a room, and then it's just a dude like going, what
like
we
this is
done here?
the computer. Like it's a whole room. Imagine if in 1940s, 1950s, you had seen a computer, you were like, computer's that big, too efficient, bad for the environment, stop it right now. Like we can't do computers, computers are bad, anyone that uses a computer is immoral, blah, blah, blah. So that's where we're at right now with NFTs. We're that early. Like they're going to get so much more efficient. They're going to get so much more well integrated into society, into our lives. We need to encourage more innovation and more research, not just say they're bad, let's stop them. So
well, I was pointing out before we came in before about like the hypocrisy of all that, because the people who were, because it's not a conversation here in the streets, you're not going down to the pub and somebody's going, it's NFTs bad for the environment. It doesn't happen where I drink at least. But it happens on Twitter and it happens on Facebook.
Yeah.
The irony of that whole situation is when you put that tweet out, where do you think it's stored? Like I always say this, where is it? Do you think it's just like somebody when you want to look it up, there's a guy going, where is it? It's stored in a big. I was checking Facebook message the other day and it goes back all to 2009. Been there for years, and there's a big hard drive which I don't pay anything for. Like there's a massive computer that holds all this information. So every time you tweet something, you're also guilty of the same thing that you're trying to. Obviously not to the same degree of transactional thingy. But you're posting 1,000 tweets a day or 1,000 photos. You are you're using some form of space and data and that is of the same ilk. That's the
traditional art too. Like, how do you know
the whole idea of artists and thingy is you have to cut a tree down in the first place.
Yeah.
Obviously, if we could find something else, we would do.
Making vinyls, it takes so much energy.
My neighbours are livid with me because I keep taking their trees down now recently. They're not happy with that.
Yeah, well, I think that's the thing with the planet at the moment. I think it's not just NFTs that are destroying the planet. There is plenty of things. Of course. But I think it's definitely something to be in mind with. I think it's a big thing for a lot of people, and I think it is something that should always be kind of at the forefront of what.
Yeah, no, it should be a consistent topic at least, isn't it? Yeah,
no,
definitely.
But it's been really, really interesting talking with you guys today, and I think it's been wicked. And everyone should definitely check out these guys' artwork. It's really cool. So if you guys want to give yourself a little plug,
I'm just dropping art. That's what I do.
Where do we find
that would help. Instagram at Monomonty. That's pretty much where I drop all my stuff. I find it all there, and then obviously all the rest of the stuff will be on there, man. So that's the one. Then you can go.
I'm on most platforms, Instagram, Twitter, and NFT platforms. Under Think Nima. So Think Nima. That's it. That's me.
Yeah, got a lot of stuff on OpenSea and a bit on Known Origin as well. But I'm on Twitter a lot, probably too much, and Instagram, and that's just Voltage with 2 underscores between Volt and Edge, very important.
Can I put my Tinder account at all?
No. If you can turn it into an NFT.
Yeah, I couldn't help myself then, like.
Yeah. Sorry. And I'm at @lilymore_art.
And check out Radium.
And Radium.
Big up Radium, man. Big up Radium.
Yes,
definitely. Check out Radium. It's a pretty cool
I'd say check out Vibe Manchester, but you're already here, so.
You should check out Vibe Manchester as well, though.
Oh, look at the other stuff that they got out there, man. Subscribe, do whatever, if that's on. Is that going to happen? Yeah.
Like, comment, all that.
Yeah. So thank you. Thanks for listening.
Cheers, guys. Love
Thank
that.
you.
Enjoyed this.
Thanks.
Thank you.